Welcome, baby abusing stormtroopers, to Geek Salad's retro movie reviews from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Todd.
And tonight we finally close out season 1 of The Mandalorian with chapter 8, Redemption. Who began with an R. I have my phone up for something else, so for more reference. So this is part 2. It's kind of like the part 2 of the 2-part finale. We did not get to last week due to lots of scheduling stuff and a 200th episode. Yay! So we're talking about that tonight to close out our Mandalorian season 1 discussion. So when we left off on chapter 7, Queel was shot dead by two speeder troopers. Mando and Cara and Greef were all kind of just like backed into a bar. And Werner Herzog was dead. We finally were introduced to Grand Moff Gideon. Or Moff Gideon, I believe. Grand. Yeah. He might have just been above average Moff.
You know, he's grand in my book. He'll always be grand to me.
Played by the incomparable Giancarlo Esposito.
Amazing.
Esposito. Yeah. Yes. I just finished season 2 of The Boys, and he's in that. And yeah, he's a force of nature. He really is. So let's talk a little bit about Moff Gideon. I keep wanting to say Goff Midian, which is totally wrong. Thoughts on our new Imperial Overlord?
And we said this last week. I was waiting for 7, almost 8 episodes for him to show up because honestly, I was more excited about him being in this show than anything else about this show because he's that good.
Yeah. No, I was surprised. I mean, we talk a lot about like the patience and the discipline that this entire show is kind of shown in terms of not showing your hand too much, not shooting your wad too much. And the fact that he showed up in the trailers, and we knew he was going to show up at some point, but you hold off until that finale. And even in that finale, he doesn't really say much of anything. This one.
I think my favorite line of his is when he's like, when they're, Greef is like, what assurances do we have that you're honoring your deal? He's like, yeah, I if you can trust my word, you can. I'm going to do what's best for me. And right now, that involves letting you all live. If for some reason that changes, I would be very happily kill you. I mean, he is honest in his dishonesty, and that is very refreshing.
Yeah, no, it is interesting too because at this point, anybody who is still aligned as a member of the Galactic Empire has nothing to lose, really.
Yeah,
that's true. What I really like about this episode is you got the glimpse of Moff Gideon at the end of episode 7, chapter 7, excuse me. And then this episode opens with the 2 speeder troopers, which are Adam Pally and Jason Sudeikis, right? Which is a great scene.
Yeah.
A total Taika, like,
oh, absolutely.
Correct. Like amazing.
Yeah.
You get so much about Moff Gideon from their conversation.
Yeah.
I love that about this episode is that you pick up these context clues about just how bad of a dude this guy is from these 2 nobody stormtroopers who are just waiting for their orders to come back into town. It's brilliant.
Right. The fact that he's killing his own men.
Speaking of those 2 troopers, though, I hope that they come back in season 2. I mean, because they were beaten up by IG-11, but I mean, one had a broken arm, was flipped, the other one was pounded, so maybe a concussion. But I don't think either one of those attacks was lethal.
No, I don't believe so either. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them again. And one of the things one of the reasons why I love the show so much is just how inside baseball they can tend to be with their show. I mean, you just see that can, and they're both taking shots at it, and neither of them can hit it.
And then, one of them, he wants to see what that thing is. He hasn't been able to see it. He's kind of curious about it. It's like, well, I mean, maybe you killed it. We want to check to make sure he's not dead, right? Yeah, come on. Let me just take a peek.
But the whole bit with IG-11 kind of like activating the hunter droid mentality, even though he's still a nurse droid, is just brilliant. The stuff on the speeder bike.
Well, I mean, just the way he wrapped it up with I'm sorry you had to see that. He's a nurse droid.
The look of unbridled joy on the child's face too. When they're on the speeder bike, he's just like
amazing.
But just every little thing that, he's got both guns blazing, but because of the way he can move was just fantastic. It's like you got that one stormtrooper shaking down the Jawas, and he only shoots the stormtrooper. Oh, the two stormtrooper, right. And it was so satisfying to be able to get to see IG-11 one more time really be that kind of badass. Because as Todd mentioned when we started, actually, I think when we were talking about Empire Strikes Back, when we reviewed that, IG-88 was essentially a prop. Like the entire IG thing was not only a prop, but also it was kind of like his head was a prop in A New Hope.
Is he awake?
He's very difficult boss in Shadows of the Empire. That's all I'll say. So on the train, very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was great because, you had the whole transition from the from the assassin to the nurse droid, but he still has those assassin-like qualities and tendencies in this scene, and it's just, I don't know, just something about it, especially with Taika voicing it. It was one of the best parts of the show.
It's the Star Wars version of what was that that comedy with but Dave Bautista as a CIA agent
with Kumail Nanjiani. Was that the one?
No. That was Uber.
Uber.
Yeah.
That was
My Spy?
Yeah. It was basically the Star Wars version of that, but done actually funny.
I really enjoyed it. I love, too, that they were giving them, like, Gideon knew everything about Mando and Cara Dune and Greef in terms of what their backstories were, where they came from. We found out that Cara is from Alderaan, which kind of adds an extra little wrinkle in there. I don't remember, what was the deal with Greef. What did he dig up on Greef?
Disgraced magistrate. That's what he said.
Oh, okay. And just that we finally got Mandalorian's name.
Din Djarin.
Din Djarin, yeah. And it actually is kind of funny. I don't know. Do you guys ever watch How It Should Have Ended?
Yeah.
No. Well, I've seen some of it, yeah,
okay.
But not.
They had one for the Mandalorian where they had the standoff, and he's just talking, and he's talking. I can wait as long as you need me to, and just Mando just like pinpoints, gets him right between the eyes. What? You would have done it.
I do have to wonder though when he says like I'll give you until nightfall. If when he goes off, if he had heard at that point, we've actually got the child. Then he said, okay, yeah, shoot him.
Yeah, well, that's all he was looking for. He's just looking for the asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy the whole nature of the standoff, even though it was a little slow moving until IG-11 just shows up. The stuff with the web gun, the web cannon,
the E-web, yeah,
the E-web, yeah. It just, it's been positioned as like this. It's going to kill us all, and they finally get their opportunity, and Mando just grabs the thing, and he's just like, double fisting it like Vasquez and Aliens.
Machine gun, man. He was playing the Predator.
He was doing the Jesse Ventura.
That's it. That's who I was thinking of. Exactly. That was the same damn thing. Yeah. Right with his partner too.
Weathers was in Predator.
Yep.
One of the single most homoerotic moments in all of film history. You son of a bitch.
I mean, Rocky 3, but still. Same.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, they're all Carl Weathers scenes. Which
Carl Weathers based. Apollo brief.
But I love that, and I do love too that there is that great moment between IG-11 and Mando, as everybody is making their way out, and Mando's just resigned to die. And Bacta makes an appearance in this one.
Yep.
He's got the Bacta mist that will heal him. He just needs to remove his helmet, and we just see it's just Pedro Pascal. They didn't do anything, literally.
Lily was very underwhelmed when we watched this together. I mean, obviously, I knew who he was, and I'd seen him in other things. And he took off his helmet, and she was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yeah, he's just a dude."
Just a dude.
It was kind of necessary though, because I mean, basically, you just take it off as like, "Oh, he's not scarred or anything. He's just a regular guy." And then, then you put it back on and the mystery's gone. You don't need to do it ever again. I mean, they might do it again because now they've opened up the floodgates, but they don't need to. Because the mystery is done.
Well, the mystery is gone, but I think the mystique is still there. Like once he put the helmet back on, he was back to being Mando. And I was like, just leave it on because there it is.
When you have him as damaged and as injured as he was, that was a good time for that to happen. That was a good time for him to take that mask, the helmet off. And just kind of stepping back a little bit about his backstory, about why he hates droids so much. Clone Wars stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they actually were bringing those Clone War, like the big battle droids back in.
Yeah. The super battle droids and the Night Watch.
That's right.
Mandalorian commandos that, were initially anti-Republic, but then sort of allied with them, and
after the genocide, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. And I also did like the fact that they brought back the Death Troopers.
I love the Death Troopers because they look so badass until they start talking, and each one of them's like, "Did you understand the word he was saying?"
You gotta wonder what they actually look like under there.
They're probably the same dudes that are underneath all the other stormtrooper gear. It's just that they've got the world's worst comm system.
I've heard like rumors that like they were actually clones that were like cybernetically upgraded.
Could be. Then again, we also heard rumors that there were xenomorphs in the Galactic Senate. So
get him out me!
The stuff with the armor when they're in the sewers is some of the best just last minute character building.
Yeah.
I really love the armor. I'm very happy they kind of left the door open that we will see her again.
I mean, we got maybe in all 8 episodes we've got maybe 10, 15 minutes with her.
Not even.
At most.
Yeah, if that.
But she is such an interesting, unique character because she says little, but she speaks with authority.
Oh yeah, because the whole idea of weapons and armor are essentially their religion. The armor has got to be your high priest.
Oh yeah,
and just I love that while she's explaining what's going on, she's just pulling the armor off of dead Mandalorians and smelting it into other things. So her job is never done. She's always going to be making that armor.
And we also learned that she can very well take care of herself. Thank you very much.
I also love too that she essentially is instructing you how to get to the next level.
Hey, everybody needs a guide, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what she was?
Take this.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same damn thing. But I also like the fact that she's the first person that we hear say the term Jedi, and it's been like 30 years since the Jedi have been anything in the universe, and I'm sure the Empire has done their best to wipe them out. So, yeah, you need these kind of like these legends.
Well, yeah, and that's why, and this is the argument I've always made about why people don't remember the Jedi, because realistically speaking, after Order 66, there really were none, and any Jedi that were around were covert. They were living in the shadows. So it's completely understandable if it's something that was always just a myth or a legend, and that because Jedi are not as prominent as they used to be because there aren't any left, stuff like Darth Vader, nobody probably was like, oh, Darth Vader was a Jedi once. Obi-Wan kept a low profile. Luke Skywalker it's not like in the 5 years intervening after the Battle of Endor that Luke Skywalker is just like, putting flyers on every cantina anywhere. Jedi wanted.
And quite frankly, even during the Clone Wars, I mean, the Jedi were around, but they weren't like, like every single planet. Oh yeah, there's a Jedi. Hey, there's another Jedi. No, they were centered in the Jedi Temple, and they occasionally went out on like missions, like as assigned by the Senate. But they weren't, like everywhere. So I'm sure there were probably planets that never seen a Jedi.
Right. So the fact that they're tying again, it's this episode needed to do some tying back in order to move to the next step, which will be season 2. What else? What else do we want to talk about here? Oh, the back of the jetpack. Finally,
the Rising Phoenix.
Yes.
I just love that they tied that back into, what was it, episode 3 when he escaped from that situation. He's like,
yeah,
he didn't say this, but he's like, oh, I got to get me one of those. Like,
I think he did actually say, I got to get me one of those.
Yeah. Amazing. And they tied it back in, and then he used it, which was, I was like, yes, let's actually have it not malfunction into the Sarlacc pit, but let's use it for something helpful and out of the situation.
It's not as if he could like do like loop-de-loops or like fly like do an aerial dogfight with the TIE fighter, but he can like leap up and then like catch it and land himself. So simple.
It was awesome.
Right. And that was really cool. And again, it's just stuff we really didn't get a good chance of seeing. Like even let's think about a more effective use of the jetpack. Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones really did it for up and down, just I'm going down now. He did use that missile and he failed horribly at that because,
Yeah. And
second tier character's gonna get his head lopped off.
And Din doesn't have the jetpack, the rocket.
Right. I really loved that. I loved that. I loved IG-11's sacrifice because it's just like Tom Hanks losing Wilson in Castaway. It's just like, it's just he's not human. He doesn't feel anything, but there is that emotional tie that he has to destroy himself in order to let everybody else get away. And
it was also a step in allowing Din to heal for his hatred of droids and what happened to him when he lost his parents.
Yeah, exactly. Droid sacrificed himself for everybody else.
Character development all around.
Oh yeah, no. This show cannot be accused of really just like, here's a character. This is what they do. That's it. Don't need to know anything else about them.
Yeah.
And it is the one character that I would say that is true of is Grief. Like, we get the magistrate line, but other than that, I'd like to see more. I'd like to know more about him, but I don't feel like there was that level of evolution for his character that Mando and Cara and even Kuiil, like, they really gave them a lot to do in this season.
We got a little bit when he killed the bounty hunters and saved because the child had saved him, but I would like to see a little bit more. I mean, and we know we will see him in the second season. So
right.
And Carl Weathers directing himself. Watch out.
Yeah. I genuinely believe that we're gonna get this amazing backstory and a lot of great character development on Grief right before he dies.
Oh, don't be so sad.
No, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that he's the kind of character that you get the development on right before he makes his noble sacrifice.
But then we don't get any more of those like grandiose, over-the-top diatribes of his.
I just want to see him. I just want to see him at a cantina, just talking about the free refills policy they have.
You got a stew going.
Please, another libation for me and my associate, and then one for every single one of these fine gentlemen all around here.
And that brings us to, well, first of all, the fact that we got another we got a TIE fighter in this one, which is really cool. The Darksaber was kind of like the most talked about, most jaw-dropping moment, I think, of the entire series. They just tied it back officially to Rebels.
It was great. It was the first time we saw the Darksaber in live action, and it looked fantastic too.
Oh, I agree. Also, from how it should have ended, where Mando's on top of the TIE fighter, just Gideon just looking up and.
So I really like the Darksaber thing. I have not seen Rebels all the way through. I haven't even gotten to the point where that's been introduced. So I'm very excited to go back and watch Rebels and Clone Wars too, right?
Yeah.
So both of those, but then also going forward in this show, I hope it obviously makes another appearance.
I think it makes an appearance in season 3 of Clone Wars. I think that's the first time you see it. It was the one where they actually go to Mandalore and they introduce the Duchess and Pre Vizsla.
Yeah. So
great way to end the show. Great tag.
Yeah. Exactly, especially because you're really they've flown away, new adventures on the horizon, and then they just go back to the crashed TIE fighter. And it was just such a great cliffhanger because, they had every knowledge that this show was going to get picked up for a second season. This was not, there's no way this wasn't going to do well, but just give us that cliffhanger, just having the balls to give us that type of cliffhanger. And, next week, we're not going to see it. It's not going to come up. It's going to wait until probably the end of the season. They are going to make us wait, and we are going to, seriously, it's only really the chuds that are going to expect it to come right up.
I could see them maybe finding information about it. I'm fairly certain they're going to have a flashback to the Purge of Mandalore. Because they mentioned it a few times in season 1, but we really haven't gotten like what did the Empire actually do to Mandalore that caused them all to go underground like that?
Right. Well, we will. I'm assuming at some point we will have that overarching storyline like we did in 1, 2, and 3, and 7 and 8.
Yeah,
we're gonna have that bridging story.
Plus, we do have they have confirmed that Katie Sackhoff is going to be in season 2, probably as Bo-Katan.
Okay. Yep.
That was the character that she voiced in the Clone Wars.
Right.
And she is also the last person that we saw wielding the Darksaber in Rebels.
Right. So we'll find out what happened with that.
Yeah.
We've been told that, well, we know that, God, I can't think of her name now. Rosario Dawson will be playing an adult Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah. And
it's still, I don't know. I mean, they haven't confirmed anything yet that Sasha Banks is going to be playing Sabine Wren.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. I mean, if
that's
it's
the one
true,
I don't buy. Out of all of them, it's the one I'm not buying.
Yeah, they really haven't said anything about her character, so I'm not even going to speculate at this point.
Right.
We'll find out soon enough.
You know what? Exactly. That's what I love about this show. I probably brought this up before, I don't remember, but I do love that we're back to appointment television again.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't something that we can just like, okay, well, I've got my piss jar and a bag of chips here. I'm good for the next 8 hours, so just leave me alone.
Yeah,
I don't get anyone to binge. I really, truly don't get anyone who wants to binge this on the first viewing. I love having to wait a week. I love having that anticipation so that when it comes up, you can actually get excited about it and not speculate. You know, you spend all week speculating what was going to happen in the next episode and then be upset none of your stupid ideas came true. And
I just love the anticipation. But I also like the fact that it kind of like levels the playing field when you do it one episode at a time, because you know, like when they drop the entire season, you know, you got those oh, I gotta watch it all now, and they watch the entire season like, oh, I know what happened. Do you want to know what happened? They're gonna spoil it all for you. You don't have that. It's like your one episode. It's like a half hour to 45 minutes. Anybody can watch it at any time. And okay, I wonder what's going to happen next.
The good old days. We love the good old days.
Exactly. And it'll be nice, too, because I don't know if Disney Plus is wrapping up behind Animal Kingdom this week. I don't know how many episodes that is, but it's like Disney Plus has now been my Friday night appointment television, like, because Fridays are usually when they release new stuff. This Friday will be Animal Kingdom and Once Upon a Snowman.
I that one actually looks kind of cute.
Rosencrantz is Guildenstern and he is frozen.
I do wish that they would I know like only like half of season 3 of DuckTales has aired so far, but I wish they put it on there because, like, you know, John keeps telling me, "Oh, season 3 is so good, so good." It's like, great! I can't wait till I can to watch it.
Mike, it's really good. I bought it on iTunes. That's how good it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something I'm like woefully behind on because it's just I have very limited television time.
Yeah, I just got up to date through everything that they have on Disney Plus, but unfortunately, they've aired like half of season 3, and that's not on Disney Plus right now.
So, yeah. So, all in all, I give this show the season 1 a solid A-. It really only. I think it only just loses points because those middle 3 episodes just don't have the same weight as and we discussed that. There's very little through story. It's just kind of a waste. It's a side mission.
That we know of.
That we know of. Okay, that we know of. When we're looking at just this season, that's kind of how I feel.
After season 2, maybe if we look back on it, and maybe it's better.
Now, how would you have felt if those episodes weren't situated right in the middle? But what if it was 1, 2, and then they did the I forget the planet's name where he met Kara and what is that planet's name? Sorgan?
Yeah,
I think it's Sorgan. Yeah.
Like, what if it was 1, 2, that one, 3, they're back on that other planet? Again, I don't know planet names.
Right.
And then, so how would you have felt if they were broken up a little instead of just smack dab right in the middle of the season?
I think that if there was a little break in between, I might feel a little better about it. I mean, it's just one of those things that, honestly, if I was going to do anything with that, I would have taken the episode where he ended up on Tatooine. That could have been episode 3, because I still like the fact that he's on the run. And that's why they're hiding out, and that's why they have to leave, is because they're wanted at that point by the guild. So, excuse me. So you leave 1 and 2 by themselves. You take episode 3 and you make it chapter 5. 5, yeah. Take chapter 5, make it chapter 3.
Then push it
because
back.
that way, it's just that he's still got the child. He needs to get back. Everything that happened within that time period could still happen within that time period, even if whatever friggin' greaser bounty hunter wannabe, he could see that Mando had an asset that was very valuable. I'll take that instead. That kind of thing. You do that, then you take episode 3, make it episode 4. Then the Sorgan episode. And at that point, then you only have one episode that doesn't have that much consequence to it. It still remains chapter 6. And then 7 and 8 are fine. I really feel that if you just flipped one of those episodes in between, there you go.
Well, we'll call Dave Filoni and Favreau. We'll get a redo on that.
All right, cool. That would actually be. I might actually take that to Twitter and see how the flow would have worked better if one of those had moved over.
The only problem with that is that we would have one extra episode before we get back to Werner Herzog, and I always want to get more Werner Herzog.
Oh, I understand that. But I do think that jamming the main story into 3 episodes without a break, and it doesn't take away from what is currently chapter 3. It just feels like chapter 5 suffers because of it. And it's the most logistical because you don't need to do too much to change the story around and still have the flow make sense.
He just wouldn't have had his new armor.
Right. That's true.
And actually, speaking of which, that does save his life on Tatooine.
He gets sniper bolt.
Yeah.
Bolt.
Oh.
Whatever.
Good season.
It's still an excellent show. I loved it. And, if you haven't watched it because for some reason you refuse to download Disney Plus, what's wrong with you? So
it's one of the cheaper of all the streaming services.
It is. I think it is the cheapest of all the streaming services. I think the only thing cheaper might be Apple TV by like $1 a month, and their original output isn't nearly as good as the original output on Disney Plus. However, they do have The Great Pumpkin, which we watched yesterday because work gave me an iPad, and I'm still running a year free of Apple TV, so we were able to watch that last night. Because for the first time in 54 years, The Great Pumpkin was not on network television. So
it's not going to get Apple TV.
No, it's cool. No one's expecting you to get Apple TV. It's just weird because none of the Charlie Brown stuff actually is streaming anywhere else. Like the major ones.
That's a weird.
I know. I was prepared to buy it, so save me you're having to buy it. So before we wrap up, we do want to take a couple minutes. This was originally going to be another episode, but Halloween's coming up, folks. We got to talk horror at some point. We want to just delve in quickly to the gallery, which was kind of like this. Would you guys say it's kind of a hastily assembled way of cashing in on The Mandalorian after The Mandalorian wrapped up? I mean, I think the interviews were there. I think that this was always meant to be something, but I think it was meant to be for a Blu-ray release. And they're like, there's so much going on right now, and now people can't leave their house. Let's just give them more Mandalorian in the form of a behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think they had the conversation. I mean, the conversations are obviously there, but maybe they, it was originally going to be like maybe a 2 or 3 part thing, and like we got a lot of stuff that we could cover here, and we got a lot of footage. Let's make it an 8-part episode thing.
Yeah. I do agree that it was most likely for a super deluxe Blu-ray release, and yeah, they just decided to package it on Disney Plus, which I am incredibly thankful for because it's really great. I'm not even done with it, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Sorry, Todd, because the last episode is the best episode.
I've heard.
Yeah, and essentially all it does is it tackles the legacy of Star Wars and what shows up from all the other movies, all the TV, all of the just everything, toys. We discussed this last week that the troop transport was a Kenner toy that came out in 1978 that wasn't in the movie, but they sold one anyway.
I had one.
Yeah, I never had that one actually. But they had, and it was really cool. But some of the things that I really enjoyed about this, let me talk about the things I didn't enjoy. Jon Favreau is the producer of the show, but anytime he would ask a director to say anything, he let them get about 3 words in edgewise before he would completely dominate the conversation. It drove me nuts. I'm probably doing that right now, so I am the Favreau of this group, and I apologize for that. But
yeah, we're used to it.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. But I feel like it's just like, John, come on, let him talk. You have a lot of talent at this table. Let them talk.
Yeah, and the director one is the first episode that's there, and those conversations are so chock full of great, just filmmaking, television making, just secrets of the trade and their craft. And I wanted more from Deborah Chow and just all of them. They really needed their own. Like, I could have used an episode on each of them. Really.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing though, is that like Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa especially, like they would talk, but it felt like they were better like at stuff behind the cameras than actually being interviewed.
Sure.
I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard, obviously she's used to it, and she was actually really good at it. Taika Waititi, he's a natural. He's just funny. Yeah. And Dave Favreau, obviously, he's really good at explaining things like that as well. It just seemed like Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa were really kind of like, yeah, this is not where our strengths are.
Right.
We'll give you our answers, but we were not going to go into a whole lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, to me, the most intriguing parts of this were just the technology involved with this. We mentioned this a little bit in some of the past discussions on The Mandalorian, but the volume, which essentially is a full room that could create an environment, like a virtual environment.
Yeah, I think it's like a 270 degree of just streams.
Yeah. And it
rendered like a video game, right? Like,
yeah.
That's game changing for special effects. It's amazing.
They actually used the Unreal Game Engine to map it all out, and so when they're on set, and they talk about it, like when they're on the boat going down the lava flow, they could look around and they saw like the walls of the tunnel going past him, and it really helped him get into character more because they didn't have to imagine everything.
Right.
And that also, I mean, it looks better. Nobody looks composited in anything. I mean, let's just take. Well, honestly, let's take the sequel trilogy, most specifically, Revenge of the Sith. There's a lot of green screen going on in there, and you can tell that they're not in actual environments. So they're not really reacting to much of anything because there isn't much to react to. Whereas with this, you're right, Mike. It's all encompassing, and I think it's going to be a real game changer too, especially with any of the new movies. Now that someone like Taika Waititi has actually used this technology, he can now take his own Star Wars trilogy that he has been granted. Yes.
Which, by the way, apparently he has just started. He's either started filming today or he's going to start filming in the next week or so in the Scottish Highlands. He's going to start filming his Star Wars movie.
Cool. That'd be nice.
Thor? I'm surprised.
Oh, maybe it's pre-production because I haven't heard anything about casting yet. So it could just be location shots and stuff.
Please.
I'm fairly certain that hasn't gone in front of the cameras yet.
This whole volume thing makes me very excited about the future for practical effects. Well, special effects, practical effects. I read that Spider-Man 3 is starting to film, and they're doing a revolutionary new technique where they're going to do digital costumes and makeup on people, and I'm a little bit concerned about how that's going to play. And not due to COVID, because they don't want to have the size crew that they normally have or anything like that. But I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I hope it plays as well as this did. If it's revolutionary and cutting edge, I hope it will succeed.
They actually have done virtual costumes and makeup before. It was called Green Lantern, and it failed miserably.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, most of the costume, actually, if I'm not mistaken, several of the Avengers costumes were CG to begin with. Iron Spider was full CG.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so was Hulk.
So was Hulk, yeah, but Hulk is more of the character is the CG. We're talking just like the regular fabric, or in this, alloy metal or whatever costume. I'm
just worried that they're going to try to put a Ramones shirt on Tom Holland, and it's just going to look terrible. So, like Superman's mustache. I don't know.
Right. I'm really excited for that. The other episodes I really loved. I loved the score episode when they talked to Elizabeth Gordon. He's kind of the dude just talks, and I love playing the music and smoking weed, and that's about it. And then
my favorite moment was towards the end of one of the episodes. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was Dave Filoni kind of connecting the end of Phantom Menace with the end of Return of the Jedi, and kind of like Anakin with a father figure that he loses, and then connecting that with Return of the Jedi, where he realizes he is kind of the father figure for Luke, and what is he willing to do for that? And the way Dave Filoni connected it was brilliant, but also it brought me to tears. It was a very well connection, and I mean Dave Filoni, he's just he knows this stuff backwards and forwards. So when he does it, it's right.
He talked about Qui-Gon as the father figure dying. Obi-Wan was more of the brother to Anakin rather than a father figure, and then he was fulfilling his destiny to be the father figure for Luke that Luke never had. So you're absolutely right. I thought that was great, and it shows you how rooted this show is in Star Wars lore and mythology. So
Right. And that's the thing too. And this has been a knock about like really any of the Disney Star Wars stuff is that they're hiring people that don't understand Star Wars, and it's like a prerequisite. You've got to have been immersed in this. You know, Rick Fujiyama, when he was talking about like standing in front of the Sandcrawler and just nerding out over the fact that he gets to involve himself with Jawas and a Sandcrawler. And, you know, that was really, really cool. It was a lot of fun to watch because, I'm such a nerd for that craft of how they make these things. And the fact that Star Wars has gone back to, there is CG, there has to be CG, there has to be the digital effects, but they are going back to a more traditional, practical way of doing things after the prequels, which are almost completely, with the exception of Phantom Menace. I know Phantom Menace gets a knock for as much CG that it didn't have in it, but the other two are almost pure CG movies. To go back to that, go back to the old style of filming with models and practical effects while still maintaining cutting edge technology, I thought was just phenomenal. I really loved how they're tackling this.
Yeah.
It gives me a lot of hope for the future, especially if with the Kenobi series. Like, it's going to be, it's going to be everything we deserve and everything we need.
Exactly. All us old guys.
I'm not talking about everybody else, just us.
Just the three of us are going to love the shit out of this, is what I'm saying. It's, and it's great, and I love that this is something I can share this with my kids. And this is new Star Wars. This is me taking my daughter to see Force Awakens. This is just something that Saturdays, the last season of Clone Wars, me and my son, Saturday morning, we're going to sit down, we're going to watch that season of Clone Wars with, with The Mandalorian. I watched it all first because, it's Friday night. They're in bed. I'm going to watch that. Come on. But when I went back to rewatch it for this, it was appointment TV for me and my son. We would sit, we would watch an episode every week. Wow.
That's great.
Please, if you haven't watched it recently, go back and watch it again. I had a really good time. Actually, a friend of ours, Mike, John Saul, we're going to be doing a watch party with him. Now that Disney Plus is offering a watch party option, you can watch this with friends. So, Todd, if you want in on that, we'll keep you posted as to the details.
Absolutely.
I have no idea how a watch party works. So,
I was just tempted to do a watch party about something else, but I'm like, does everyone have to have the service in order to use it, or it can link in, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think everyone has to have the service.
Oh, okay.
So, but I mean, come on, what Star Wars nerd doesn't have Disney Plus?
I mean, I'm paying for it for my whole family, so don't tell not Bob Iger, but whoever's in charge now.
No, that's
Bob Chapin.
That's fine. Yeah, we're giving to a few people as well. So that was The Mandalorian, all 8 episodes. So that was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to next year when we can discuss season 2 in great depth. So Mike, Todd, and I host I lost my train of thought. Mike, Todd, and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. We just recently celebrated our 200th episode, which is now available wherever you get your podcasts. I went back and I listened to that again today while I was doing some work around the house, and I had forgotten that Tom had mentioned when we were talking about Red Dawn, if the theater, the theater kids, they would all die immediately because each and every one of them thought that they had a really good Russian accent.
Well, yes, comrade.
But definitely check it out. It's our conversation about things that we used to love that have aged terribly. and it's a lot. It was a lot of fun to do, and you can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us here, where you get your weekly or mostly weekly videos. Give it a big thumbs up. Next week, we're finally going to get a Halloween movie in here. I haven't been able to say Shriek Salad this year. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Actually, in fact, our handle on Twitter right now at Geek Salad Radio is Floorboards Go Creek Salad. So, because I'm very clever.
Very clever. Very clever.
What's that? What did you say, Mike?
I was just saying very clever.
Thank you. So yeah, you can check us out on Twitter and Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. Also, check out our merch store where we've got all our cool stuff here. Go to tpublic.com, keyword Geek Salad Podcast. Also, check out Todd's Instagram because I haven't seen any albums up recently. Have you been doing that? And I'm just not getting the notifications.
You know, it was really great when I was working from home and I was spinning maybe 7 or 8 albums a day, all unlistened to stuff. But I've gotten through all that pile and I'm not working at home anymore. So I really don't have time to listen to the same vinyl volume that I used to. But every once in a while, there's something up there.
Anyway, you can check that out. So before we let you go, don't forget, you've got less than 2 weeks. So if you have not done so already, if you have early voting or you have mail voting, please do it for the love of God. Less than 2 weeks. We'll stop asking you in 2 weeks to do this. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Todd.
Go forth, be nerdful, and this is the way.
And everybody do the magic hand thing.